Honolulu rail officials repeatedly fed the public rosy estimates that contradicted their own internal warnings of the project's runaway cost and crippling delays. That's according to a much anticipated state audit that was released 2 hours ago. It is the first of 4 that are expected from State Auditor Les Kondo in the coming weeks. And of course, that was part of the rail funding bill that the House and Senate passed with the GET and the TAT. I did want to give Sylvia and Karl a brief moment to comment. I know you probably haven't read the report, given that it just broke and you've been busy, but Sylvia?
So as Chad just stated, this is just one of 4 audit reports, so this will not be all encompassing. For instance, this audit report is just a historical perspective, so it might be something that many of the audience members and many of the news individuals like yourself, and especially people like Marcel, who's been working on this issue forever, is probably these are facts that they're probably aware of. The second audit will come out next week. The second audit will be a description of the structure of HART and how that in itself is, depending on what the auditors say, whether that caused problems or issues. The third audit, which is expected at the end of January, that's where it gets a little bit more substantive, and that will talk about, I believe, either change orders or some type of other issues. And then the last one, the culminating one, will be the 4th one in the middle of February. And we just want to thank the auditor's office, because actually there was another one anticipated, and they're having issues about whether the auditor himself felt whether the report was sufficient enough. So, as you can see, Les Kondo and his office is doing a lot of work to bring transparency and accountability and really faith in the largest public works project in the state of Hawaii.
Karl, I know that, if I'm not mistaken, we were talking earlier, the rail line would actually go through your district, Evelay, basically? And
all the way through. Yeah, I think there's 4 stops in my district.
reaction, I know, again, you haven't read the report, but I just...
Well, my reaction is just it's the number one rule of public communication is to get the bad news out there yourself before somebody catches you. And I just am appalled that they would go that route. Having said that, I don't think it should be used as an argument to stop the rail project. I think it should be an argument to improve the management of the rail project. But it would be like saying, well, we don't like the current president of the United States, so we should get rid of the presidency. No, you should get a different president. So I think if personnel needs to change to keep that kind of thing from happening, then so be it. But I still firmly believe that rail is a necessary and beneficial project in the long run.
One quick follow, my understanding of the legislation that was passed in special session, you could revisit the funding mechanism, is that correct?
We can revisit the funding issue at any point, because after all, this is the general excise tax. In addition to that, it was the hotel tax, the transit accommodation tax. So because the authorization is given by the state, the legislature could revisit the issue at any point. If I could just add one
Sure.
more thing. So one of the things I think the auditor's office and the auditor continues to tell me, okay, I have become everyone's friend, where people I have never known come up to me on the street and stop me and tell him all these little bits and pieces and problems that they have with rail and other issues. And the number one thing that people come to talk to him about is the rail route. And so whether, if you have an opinion about stopping the rail at Middle Street, or whether it should be going to UH where that was the promise that was initially made, or, whether it should move Malka or a different route. Actually, the auditor's office wanted to tell everybody he is not looking at the rail route. So please do not stop him at Starbucks or Safeway, because none of the audits will deal with the rail route. With that said, I personally do feel that the current rail route is wrong. I think we have an obligation, just like all the state departments, to look at climate change. And if we have a responsibility to invest a lot of our state funds and taxpayer money, the rail route should change to inland so that we can anticipate that if we're going to make an investment, we have to plan for the future. And this is really not just about rail, but it's about transit-oriented development. What future developers and homeowners are we going to force to live in the flood zone? And so I think this is something that, we may or may not take up, but it's something that, as audience members and taxpayers, I think we need to continue to do critical thinking about rail and continue to push individuals who are in charge of this project to continue to challenge themselves and rethink about what is the best thing for us, the citizens of the state and citizens of Oahu.
Okay. Anything else, Karl?
Well, Chair Luke is correct. Because the city and county didn't approve the charter amendment that would allow us to put more people on the auditing board, we have every right to go back and revisit it. The route, I couldn't agree with more. I tried to talk the Hanneman administration into moving it in Malka. Gosh, it's been 11 years ago when they were first looking at it, not because of climate change, but because the way rail ridership works is you want people walking to the rail stations from both sides, and if you get down near the water, there's nobody living in the water, so you can't have somebody walking from that side. Having said that, it's very, very difficult to change the route at this point. I think you basically just start over again. You do a new EIS, you have to get back in line at the federal level if you expect to get any money. I doubt seriously the Trump administration is going to do us any favors, whereas the Obama administration, when Senator Inouye was chair of the Appropriations Committee, they were doing us some favors. So it's a very difficult decision that way. I mean, the other thing you got to look at is how long the thing will last. So you figure it's going to last 100 years. Are the parts of the parts through my district in Ivalai and Chinatown, are they going to be underwater in 100 years? Well, some of them probably will be. I guess I'm happy. My last statement would be, I guess I'm happy that I didn't get my way about putting it underground, because at least it's above the water and we won't have to worry about that part.
Thank you.